Throughout the fruitful history of IndyCar, there's been many one-hit wonders. From Formula One greats to forgotten missed talents, there are a whole lot of them. But although many of these drivers only scored one win, they still make up some pretty intriguing stories. So in this video, I would like to go over 5 of the most interesting one-hit wonders in IndyCar history. Jackie Stewart is a man who needs no introduction, but many of you probably don't know that Jackie once won an IndyCar race, albeit a non-championship race. On October 9th, 1966, the USAC Champ cars were at Fuji Speedway in Japan for an 80-lap race at the new circuit. The track had opened in December of 1965, less than a year before this race. Not a whole lot is known about this event, as only 1 minute and 33 seconds of footage of this race is still around today. What we do know is that this race was run in the opposite direction. The course has always been run in a counterclockwise direction, but for one time and one time only for this one IndyCar race, they ran it counterclockwise. Jackie Stewart was dominant, starting the race from the pole, leading 59 of 80 laps and taking his only ever IndyCar win. Now, does this really count because it was a non-championship race? Maybe not, but is it still a very interesting story? Absolutely. One of the biggest upsets in the past 10 years of IndyCar history is the time Carlos Huertas shocked the IndyCar paddock, winning in Houston. Huertas had only 2 top 10s coming into the Houston doubleheader of 2014, but by the end of it, he was a race winner. In a rain-soaked and incident-riddled race 1 at the Houston Street Circuit, Huertas flew under the radar for most of it, but through strategy, Carlos got up towards the front. After teammate Justin Wilson came into the pits, Huertas took the lead and would take the checkered flag under caution to win his only ever IndyCar race, topping an all-Colombian podium in the process. Huertas' win was mightily impressive, but also a complete one-off. In less than a year's time, he was out of IndyCar for good, having never gotten another top 10 in the IndyCar series. Very rarely do you find a driver who, despite having a win, never had another top 5 in a series. Well, Carlos Huertas ticks this unfortunate box, making him one of the oddest one-hit wonders in IndyCar history. When thinking of IndyCar drivers with just one win, easily the biggest name is Danica Patrick. Danica is a driver who needs no introduction. She's one of the most recognizable motorsports names of the 21st century. Whether this be for good or bad reasons, I'll let you decide. Danica was a good driver in her tenure in IndyCar, grabbing the aforementioned one win. Once again, it was at a race in Japan, this time at Twin Ring Motegi back in 2008. Thanks to a fuel mileage affected finish, Danica took her only ever IndyCar win. This was the peak of Danica's career, as she began to struggle after the IndyCar merger that was finally completed after that weekend. As many of you know, Danica switched her attention to NASCAR after 2011, and that career move turned out to be an utter disaster.
Well, rule number 1 of stock car racing is learn how to wreck someone without wrecking yourself.
Taking just the IndyCar side of things into question, Danica was a solid driver, and could have gotten more wins had a few things gone her way, but despite that, she'll forever be remembered as an IndyCar race winner and a one-hit wonder. Next up is the youngest driver on this list, Nelson Philippe. The young Frenchman was Champ Car's version of Max Verstappen, only with far less success. After only 1 year racing in cars, Philippe was brought into the Champ Car World Series at the age of 17. Philippe was certainly rushed, and struggled greatly in his first 2 years in the series. But in late 2006, the now 20-year-old Frenchman shocked the world. At the second-to-last race of the 2006 Champ Car season in Surfers Paradise, Nelson started 5th and pieced together the best race of his life. Philippe took the only victory of his Champ Car career that day. He didn't dominate, he didn't luck into it, he just had a great drive. After years of frustration, Philippe was finally a race winner in Champ Car. So entering 2007, how do you think the year went for Philippe? Well, take whatever you're thinking and throw it away. Philippe was kicked to the curb in 2007 because he didn't bring in enough money, and would only make 4 more starts across Champ Car and IndyCar. Philippe's final moment in the series came in 2009, when he, along with Will Power, were severely injured in a crash at Sonoma. Philippe never raced in IndyCar again after this, fading into obscurity. Had Nelson Philippe had more time to shine after his win, he might have gotten a handful of wins on top of his 06 triumph at Surfers Paradise. Unfortunately for him and everyone else, we'll never know what could have been. Finally, moving on to the only driver on this list with both one IndyCar win and an IndyCar championship, we talk about Buzz Calkins. Calkins is possibly the most forgotten champion in the modern history of IndyCar. Many have labeled Calkins as a fluke champion, and while many factors, like the fact there are only 3 races that season, and the very high attrition rate all throughout that year, definitely made for a weird year with an equally weird result, I don't believe that Calkins is a fluke champion. Some have unfairly pointed at the lack of a tiebreaker system in IndyCar at the time to the reason why Calkins won, when when in reality, if the Indy Racing League had the tiebreaker system that most series use, Calkins would have been the undisputed champion. It was truly a career year for Calkins, with a win in the season opener at Walt Disney, a championship crown to boot, and another crown as the biggest one-hit wonder in IndyCar history. This video was certainly on the shorter end, but I still think the stories talked about were still very interesting. There's definitely a lot of material if I want to make a part 2, so if you'd like that, let me know in the comments. Thank you so very much for watching and have a great afternoon.